The Babaquara Mansion. The Babaquara Mansion around 1890, when the first Ravioli government took office here in Serra, a mental health company, was created a job that filled the pockets of colonels and oligarchies that held power in that state at the time. Ravioli was praised by both supporters and government proponents for his concern for the mental health of the people of Serra. He named the place in the municipality of Guayuba the Babaquara Mansion. Construction work began immediately. The medical bag and other rooms, some of them have restricted access like morgues for experiments. Although the purpose of the mansion was to care for patients with mental illnesses, behind the scenes, Dr. Hugo conducted a series of mind control experiments on patients, and the main sponsor of this experiment was Ravioli himself. Various forms of torture were performed on the patient, including slicing ravioli. He regularly visited the mansion because of his interest in mind control techniques. To help him be re-elected, he developed a shock therapy that transforms patients into less zombies. As his supporters say, torturers. Soon he turned patient after patient into slaves, but there was a mistake in one of them. His name is Vladimir, and he was sent to a sanatorium after killing his mother for not seasoning his food properly. He suffered from an aggressive disorder that therapy could not overcome. To complete the experiment, the doctors had to find out what was causing the shock therapy to malfunction. He was so intrigued by the incident that he spent much of his time investigating the cause. I discovered that perhaps the medicine he needed was someone who would awaken love in his heart. The doctors had no other choice and had to eliminate the patients who failed the treatment. When Vladimir appeared in his room hanging from a rope, he had committed suicide. They took the body to the city cemetery and buried him there. A few months after selling his experiment to the state health agency, all of Serra's illnesses were treated with wonderful shock therapy, including headaches. Thus, he was re-elected, and the historic milestone occurred when the Reveals were no longer in opposition. 100% of the government deputies were elected in that state. The crowd control therapy was successful, and the mansion, the Guayuba Babaquara, was completely burned down, so no one knew what had happened there. Torture and inhumane acts are forgotten in history. There were people from Serra who were not controlled by the government and who constantly denounced the name of this group. They were custodians. They tried to study the state's education but found no evidence of ideological indoctrination. It's not a radio announcement. It seemed like magic that a dictatorship was so popular. They soon find a case that sparks their interest, a sanatorium that was burned down by the government. However, the burning of the mansion was not postponed because the burning of the archives had not been completed. Investigating the death of one of their patients, Vladimir, they exhumed his grave but found no corpse or bones, just a suitcase full of blank papers and a note like this: I once had the chance to escape this hell. I managed to go out onto the balcony of a building with a friend. Once you can reach the point, my friend jumped, but I was scared. He pointed at me the light of the lamp and said, come on, you don't have to jump, just walk in this light that is reflecting and you will get here. I was crazy, but not crazy enough to believe. I went back to the sanatorium and lost hope. I didn't care more about consents. I just wanted to know about the death, but for my suffering and that of all my companions. I leave here the riddle to discover the truth of this place. Immediately after the note was written, what those in power need to control to remain in power above is the fault of a madman, and lovers don't use it very well. The answer was obvious. You see, the aluminum escort found the biggest clue, but could not prove the involvement of Ravioli in the incident. Written on Vladimir's chest in Latin, it meant, see my face in the mirror, I understand the wine. So they took the papers, looked in the mirror, and saw nothing, but when spilling some wine the ink began to appear, and soon it became strange in relation to Dr. Governor. It did not take long for the secret to be revealed, and the effect of the shock treatment to disappear. It was a perfect moment to report the incident. It caused national resonance, and the then president, because before they were one night before his trip, he was found dead, electrocuted by his own devices. Strangely, the same happened with Dr. Hugo. They say that Vladimir had taken revenge for him and for his friends who died in the mansion. The lands of the mansion are haunted to this day. They say that people hear people screaming there. They say that they are Ravioli. Dr. Hugo screaming. It is his former patients doing experiments with them.